Dragon Ball Xenoverse is an awesome game. It has many flaws, but these flaws are overshadowed like the king of the cosmos towering over his son when compared to the possibilities this game opens up. Let's start with the flaws to get them out of the way. Then I'll talk about everything else and end on suggestions for a sequel, since I'm pretty sure there will be no more updates from here on out. First and foremost, Xenoverse lists itself as a fighting game RPG. Xenoverse is not a fighting game. It's an action RPG. It has an attack button and special moves and all that, but the combat in this game is so limited it hurts. The most simplistic fighting game on the block, Smash Bros., has way more complexity than Xenoverse does. Want more proof? Try playing as a Pool or Frieza soldier and fight Super Saiyan 4 Goku in the Versus mode. In Xenoverse, whoever has the highest numbers wins the fight almost every time. When stats matter more than fighting technique, you know you're playing an RPG, not a fighting game. That's not to say that Xenoverse has done something wrong. I just want to point out that people need to stop playing this game expecting Tenkaichi, Raging Blast, or Budokai. Once I realized this, the game became a lot less frustrating. I was frustrated with the fact that I kept losing fights in the story mode because the computers hit way harder than I did. I could do a 60-hit combo and leave a decent dent in their health, but they would do one move and nearly kill me. It's unfair in a fighting game, but not in an RPG. To be clear, I'm saying that the biggest flaw the game has is calling itself a fighting game, not how the actual battles work. I love how the battles work, except when they don't. I'm talking about super armor, otherwise known as when I punch my target and it doesn't count towards my combo, doesn't do damage, and doesn't flinch my opponent. Also known as bullshit. Anytime a game invents new rules to increase the difficulty artificially, it's not fair or fun. Consider the fact that players can have this ability themselves for roughly 30 seconds, but only using a certain combination of special moves. Almost all the bosses in the game have it, and they have it infinitely. Super armor only makes sense on the Great Apes because they're massive and should be shrugging off your attacks. They also have a completely different way to combat them that doesn't make the super armor feel annoying. Tenkaichi had super armor in it, but there was an indication that your opponent had the super armor, and it wore off. There were only certain characters that could do it, and it was always triggered by an ability they could use if they had enough ki. With it being temporary and having that, icon showing the players that it was on there, it allowed players to realize, oh, they have that ability triggered right now. It's in my best interest to not have a close range battle, so they could run away and wait for it to run out. Super armor is frustrating as all get out, but couple that with the horrible grinding and that just skyrockets the frustration levels. While progressing through the game, players unlock parallel quests where they do quests that turn the storyline on its head by introducing alternate realities or timelines the player can participate in. This is definitely one of the greatest features in the game. It allows players to fight alongside Raditz to take down Piccolo and Goku, or fight Great Ape Bardock. These parallel quests are where players can unlock new special moves, clothing pieces, and Z-Souls. The key word here is can, because no reward is guaranteed. Players can spend up to 15 minutes fighting waves of enemies only to receive nothing but Zenny and experience points, no matter how high a rank they earn. All the Z-Souls, special moves, and clothes are random loot drops from specific characters in specific missions. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Parallel Quest 43, Old Rivals and Dragon Balls, tasks the player with collecting 3 Dragon Balls while being attacked by Kid Buu, Perfect Cell, and Final Form Frieza. If I want Beerus's clothes, I have to defeat all 3 of these enemies before collecting the 3 Dragon Balls. The random number generator kicks in and decides whether or not to let God Goku shows up. If he shows up, I'm tasked with collecting the rest of the 7 Dragon Balls. If I collect a Dragon Ball, Beerus shows up. If I collect 2 Dragon Balls, Whis shows up, with Beerus. If I kill Beerus, the RNG kicks in and decides whether or not I get a piece of his clothing, his attack, or his Z-Soul. If I want one specific thing from this mission, his pants for example, the RNG has to decide if Beerus shows up, then decide if I get loot, then decide what loot I get out of 6 possibilities. That is an ungodly amount of RNG. It took me well over 100 attempts to get everything from this mission. Calming down. There is only one other flaw I can think of, and that's the sound design in this game. The sound effects are fantastic, but their levels are bad, and the options menu doesn't fix this. Character greetings and hitting sound effects are too loud, and the music fades out at weird times. There are times where you'll be just a little too far from your opponent, where you're far enough away to, see your opponent and feel like you're in the action, but because they're not locked onto you and you're not currently attacking them, the music decides to fade out. So it's a weird thing. It's just kind of annoying. I've gone into the menu and tried to fix the sound effect levels and whatnot, but if I make anything softer, it becomes too soft and overpowered by the other sounds. The biggest offense I can think of is whenever you go talk to Trunks for a quest, his annoying "Hey!" is so loud and out of place, it feels like it's breaking the TV speakers. And mind you, I've tried to play with the TV speaker volume. It doesn't help. There's something wrong with the game's audio levels. They're just too high in some places and too soft in others. But changing gears. Let's talk about how awesome the game is and what should happen in the inevitable sequel, aside from fixing the previous flaws I mentioned. Xenoverse is the first game that actually got me to roleplay. I wanted to make one of each race and give him a signature battle style. Nidoking, a Frieza clan with a grudge against all Saiyans. Ultra Kami Guru, the albino Namekian with something to prove. Lou, me, just kind of my first character running through. Lily, the fiery Saiyan girl who's underestimated at every turn. And Gomu Gomu, the mysterious Majin traveler. Okay, I didn't say I was good at role-playing or story writing. But Xenoverse let me take my characters and fit them into the Dragon Ball universe seamlessly and see them not only in cutscenes, but also power up through the story. Going through the storyline was an absolute blast. The sequel needs to expand the hell out of it. Do more what-if scenarios. Let me fight Kid Goku in the World Martial Arts Tournament. Let the Saiyan homeworld not explode and have Goku as a villain. Take the parallel dimension / outside the time stream setup and go crazy with it. The developers can't go wrong because it's not Dragon Ball canon, it's Xenoverse canon. On that note, add more characters and costumes. Tenkaichi 3 holds the record for the most fighting game characters in one game. Break that record. Add in all the characters Tenkaichi 3 had and then some. I suggest more obscure and random characters like the Mummy from Dragon Ball. Even better, why not add Chrono and Magus from Chrono Trigger? If I remember correctly, the art assets from that game were created by Toriyama. They would fit the art style of Xenoverse perfectly. As for costumes, most of them are simple requests, like Krillin with hair and Goku in his Yardat clothes. Others, I guess, should be a little bit more out there, like Super Saiyan 3 Broly and Vegeta. I loved them in Raging Blast 2. It was awesome. The rest of the costumes I would suggest really aren't costumes as much as they're customization items. There needs to be more customization. More facial hair and, head hair options as well as clothing options. Let Saiyans choose to show their tails or not. Let all races be fat or skinny, especially Boo. I wanted to make my own custom Kid Boo, not the Fat Boo, damn it. I love Fat Boo, but I didn't want to make a Fat Boo character. I really wanted a Kid Boo, because he's my favorite. Not only should there be more clothing options, players should be able to change the color of preset armors, like Vegeta's Saiyan armor. Let players collect all of the clothes they collect, not just the clothes created specifically for player-created characters. Also, let players actually see what clothing looks like before they buy it, and let players choose what color aura and ki they have. Here's a crazy idea. Let them customize their transformations as well. Add Super Saiyan 3 and 4 transformations into the game, and let players customize how their character would look when transformed. Let Frieza Clan have at least one transformation that players can customize, and let the Majin have a fusion of sorts that they can activate in battle. Like If they use their transformation move, they can cover their opponent in goo and use some of the characters like features, like their clothing or like facial features or whatever, you know, quote unquote transform. Super Boo did that, let players do that. It couldn't be that difficult. Which, on that side note, here's like the craziest idea that they should definitely do. Fusions. If players perform the fusion dance, let their characters fuse. Each player now has their half of the fusion as a limited time playable character. Fusions have a dominant character and name. Let the players control their dominant half. Gogeta and Vegeta are what I'm talking about. If there were two players, one named Goku and the other named Vegeta, Goku would play as Gogeta and Vegeta would play as Vegito. And the features and clothing options of the, you know, fusions would be an amalgamation of the two, but more similar to one or the other, depending on that particular, you know, player's fusion. You know what I mean? Fusion should be limited to humans and Saiyans, and the existence of both characters being fused but in the same place at the same time could totally be explained as an extension of, you know, the Elder Kai of Time's like power, allowing them to coexist for, you know, a mission or two, like whatever short period of time the developers want players to have. At this point, I really can't list my ideas in some form of coherent order, so here's a list of things that should be added to the sequel in no particular order. Let players see numbers to quantify their stats. These numbers should be on clothes and the special attacks, as well as on the stat charts, which the stat charts were useful, but it's not as accurate as it would be nice to see numbers, or at least an option to see numbers, which there should be a compare button when you have two pieces of clothing that you want to see like side by side, not the physical appearance but their numbers, to kind of, you know, put them literally side by side so you can see which is quote unquote better for your character, whatever, you know. That same comparison option could totally be with the special attacks as well. Give Frieza's clan a legitimate name. I know they don't have an official name, which is why Dimps didn't give them one, but I'm pretty sure the developers could get away with something. Arcosian is the fan favorite. I suggest that one, personally. When a player has max leveled a character, Shenron should totally get a new wish that lets them instantly level another one of their created characters to max level. Let stages get damaged more, and let that damage stay on the map longer than just a few seconds. Let players do parallel quests in local co-op. If the versus mode can be done split screen, there's no reason why parallel quests can't. Add beam struggles, ball struggles, and rush struggles. Have all attacks list how much damage they do. Add at least one new race into the game. I can't think of any race to add other than Android, but the game doesn't need another human-looking race, and the humans can quote-unquote be androids, because you can't tell them apart, and the humans do have a key regenerating factor, so it's not really, not the greatest idea to add the android race. And I know that the Namekians and the Frieza clan can be customized to kind of look like a different race, but it's not exactly the same. I don't have any suggestions, I'm just saying, it would be cool if they added another race. I can't stress enough that Dimps needs to go crazy with their setup. They have the perfect opportunity to go nuts with the DBZ world, and the crazier they go, the better. I love this game, and I cannot wait for the sequel. We all know they're gonna get one. Xenoverse could not stay on store shelves. So next time around, they're gonna have a bigger budget, and they already have all these predefined assets, so they'll have more time to perfect and other sorts of things. And we know how the reviews went, so I'm sure they'll pick up on this kind of stuff, and I hope fix it. I hope they add everything I mentioned and then some. In other words, consider this my love letter to the developers, and if anyone takes anything away from this video, it's please make a sequel.